your meeting.
All right, thank you, Chris. I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:11 p.m. Let's please start with Pledge of Allegiance and the Goethe School Pledge. Please stand, place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Casey and Vicki?
As a citizen of the world, I will follow Goethe's circle of learning. Curiosity opens my mind, ideas lead to knowledge, responsible choices show respect, cooperation strengthens others, learners are courageous, empathy creates community.
Als ein Bürger dieser Welt folge ich dem Kreis des Lernens, neugierig, ideenreich, respektvoll, kooperativ, mutig, empathisch.
Thank you. All right. Roll call. Frank?
Present. Sorry, I was on mute.
No, it's okay. We know Sam is not there and Pete will be joining us hopefully soon. Katrin? No go yet? Katrin, can you?
I said here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. We're good now.
Okay.
Thank you, Katrin. All right, moving on. I'd like to make a motion to affirm the board findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, all in favor? Frank?
Aye.
Katrin?
Yes.
That's a yes for me as well. Moving on. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Frank?
Aye.
Katrin?
Yes.
That is a yes for me. All right, moving on to public comment. Casey?
The public may comment on any item that is on the agenda or any other item that is in the board's jurisdiction. Members of the public who wish to comment during the board meeting may use the raise hand tool on the Zoom platform. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and the total time for this purpose shall not exceed 30 minutes per meeting. If an interpreter is needed for comments, they will be translated to English and the time limit shall be 6 minutes. Individuals may speak 1 time per subject. The Board of Trustees reserves the right to mute or remove a member of the public if comments or actions disrupt the board meeting. Board members are prohibited from responding to or commenting on matters raised by the public that are not on the agenda. And this time, it does not look like there is any public comment.
All right, then, moving on, I'd like to make a motion to approve the board meeting minutes from June 13th, 2022. All in favor, Frank?
Aye.
Katrin?
Yes.
That is a yes for me. Moving on to our regular meeting. Chris, public hearing for the LCAP. Go for it.
Okay. This would be the opening of a public hearing, which then will close and we will look to the adoption of our local control accountability plan. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. And just give a quick explanation. The local control accountability plan has been developed and in place in California since local control funding formula was created in 2013-14 school year. And since that time, school districts and charter schools have developed a what we call the LCAP. And this is, I'll go through the detail, a little more detail of this before we do our review as a board. Right now is the time for an open public hearing. So once again, if there are any members of the public who would like to speak with regard to our local control accountability plan, the LCAP, now would be the time. And if you can let our moderator, Casey, know if there is anyone who would like to speak.
At this time, it looks like there is no public comment.
Okay, if that's the case, then you can be sure, Biggie, that you're marking when we opened the time we opened the public hearing and the time we close the public hearing and move on to approval. So that is at 6:17 is the closure of the hearing. Yes, sir.
All right, then we shall move on to the next item, which is the approval of, the adoption of the 2022-2023 LCAP. I'd like to make a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
That's from Frank. Go ahead, Chris.
Sure.
Chris, could you do me a favor and close the bar down there that says uploaded 8 files? Please close so we have a little bit more visibility of that.
That one?
Yep.
Okay, the other one should go away in a second. There it
Yep,
goes.
thank you.
You bet. So this is a document that was in your Dropbox for your review, and it is a lengthy document. But a lot of this document is actually the instructions that are given to us by the CDE. So I'm going to give a quick look at the overview for parents, which is the opening part of the document. But this gives us a look at a couple of things. One is the big picture of funds that exist that we get. And so you can see that the local control funding formula, or LCFF funds, accounts for 76% of the funding we get. And the rest is split up between other state funds, federal funds, and local funds that we get. And if you look at the LCFF funds, there is a slice of that which we call for supplemental and concentration grants, which is about 5%. If you look at the bottom here, where it says 258,433, 5% of the overall LCFF funding is what we earmark or focus on supplemental funding, which is focused on students who are English learners, students who are on free and reduced lunch, socioeconomically disadvantaged, or foster youth. And we are obviously not going to be going through this page by page, but I do want to just highlight a few pieces that are of importance. This is describing how over the year we have discussed at a variety of different meetings, including the GPA, including our parent advisory committees, including our coffee chats, through various methodologies of communications, through our GICS communication, Fresh Schools, in different ways of engaging and having parents participate, including surveys that we have given out throughout the year to get feedback. And all of that is a part of what is into this document and which drives our, reflects our budget. The annual update is the next section on this plan, and the annual update looks back to the year 2021-22. so that we're constantly looking one way. As we look forward, we're also looking back to see where we've come from. And so that's what this section is about. And then you can see the very lengthy or the instructions that go along with that. And then looking at the plan summary for 2022-23. This is the heart of the LCAP, and it basically breaks things down into 3 different goals. We look at the data of where we stand currently, and then we also looked at our iReady information that was there as well, and then reflected on that, looked at what are the highlights of our program, and then determined or got our partners involved in participating, and this is our English language learner group, as well as our Parent Advisory Council, as well as GPA, as well as our SELPA, as well as our, I mentioned ELAC and DLAC. So these groups have been talking through issues as the year has gone on, and we've taken that and broken it down into, like I said, the 3 goals. So goal 1, there is goal 2, and each of these goals has actions. This one has 5 actions that connect with it. Goal 2 is the next one, and there are the actions that go along with it. In this case, another 5 actions, and goal 3, and the actions that go along with it. And specifically, we are looking at the services that we are giving. So that 258,433 is split up over support that we have for our staff, for our students, and specifically, where's the one I'm looking for? The ones that are right here, which are the places where we have shifted or put that money and broken down into supports that are measuring student progress or assessments, and we use iReady and the cost of running that system, addressing academic needs to accelerate learning, where we use instructional aids, including an English language learner aid, which is in the next line, and broad course of study, where we have programs such as our Spanish program, which provides a broader course of study than would particularly be found without these kind of funds. So as I mentioned, the larger part here are instructions that go along with this program, and the final piece, these are I'm just scrolling right through the instructions that come from the state, and they're very lengthy, and they go all the way to the end of the document. So that's the main thrusts of the LCAP and what we spend that money on, and for our supplemental support. And I'd like to open it up to Ryan. Is there anything else you would like to share, Ryan from XED? If you can, if there anything you'd want to add with regard to the LCAP.
Hey there.
Hey, Ryan.
The only thing that I would like to point out is that the LCAP is a living document. And, you know, from time to time, we'll have ADA revenue go up or go down based on, you know, increased funding or challenges with, you know, enrollment or average daily attendance. I'm speaking generally for schools right now. And it's always important to you know, monitor and make sure that we're utilizing all of our supplemental funding dollars from the local control funding formula. And, you know, sometimes there could be challenges such as timing of hiring or other things outside of our control where Dr. Jones and his team will need to adjust. And while the expense could change, the goal and the action should still remain the same. And that's why we do mid-year check-ins and, you know, various check-ins throughout the year to make sure that we're still on track with our LCAP goals and actions and making sure that we're spending all of our money appropriately. That's just one thing to keep in mind for the board because needs change and it's important that we stay on top of those.
Thank you, Ryan. So Yasir, I'd open it up to questions specifically about the LCAP. I know that you guys have done this each year, and this is a document you're familiar with. It has changed in format, particularly during the COVID times. It seems that they kept reissuing different ways to do it, and so it has a little might have a little different look than in past years. This is in the format that was required by the CDE and in the order that it's required by the CDE. So Yasir, questions?
Thank you, Chris. Frank,
No questions, no comments.
Katrin,
Yes, questions. So this is my first time looking at this since I joined the board, so bear with me. Is there some kind of feedback loop or accountability mechanism? I mean, Ryan said, yes, of course, you need to stay on top of it and see how you're tracking against those goals throughout the year. Makes sense, but is there a reporting back mechanism to the entity that provides this funding as to whether or not we have accomplished those goals?
So we are doing that to our within ourselves. So it's, and the answer is yes, there is a feedback loop that we do with regard to this, and it's part of what we do in multiple meetings throughout the year. So we take a look at these LCAP goals that are there, and we speak at, like, for instance, the Parent Advisory Council, and we talk through, okay, we wanted to support and build in curriculum. So what are we doing? And we might dive into something like we did this year, which was looking at the math curriculum. And then we also look at the results. Well, how right now our only results that we've had to look at really have been iReady, but we'll also have CASP results that are coming forward, and we also have at the ELAC committee looking at English learners and results of how that subgroup of students is doing on different tests, as well as specialized tests like the LCAP that those students are taking. And so that's and then there's a format that is has changed every year in terms of what we have to report on, but it is the process that we use. This is a very, let me put it this way, cumbersome process, and we really do our best to try to make it a worthwhile and useful process. There's times where it gets so bogged down in the detail that it's hard to do that. So we try to focus at these meetings on what's important and gather feedback from our families as to what they would like to see in how we develop, not just for supplemental funds, but for all of our budget needs, and that input is then found. So that's the cycle that we use, is through those meetings throughout the year. And ELAC and our Parent Advisory Committee and our GPA executive team, those are probably most important loops in that cycle.
I understand, and thank you for that detailed explanation. So that means, though, that receiving the funding is based on the plan that you lay out and the objectives you define moving forward, rather than, for example, contingent on achieving those objectives in the past, correct?
Correct. It is not
Okay.
there. It's not the funding is you have met or not met. The place where that comes into play, however, is with our LCAP, and it can be brought up when we do our chartering, and we apply for our charter renewal. So it's important that we're following these processes, and that we're showing I think our best foot forward as we go through these, and we really we do take time with the surveys that we send out to parents. We do take time with the surveys that we self administer as well. So it's an internal piece, and again, something that happens every year as part of we approve it as part of the budget process, because that's the cycle that they give us from the CDE. But it's really an ongoing process throughout the year. It's not just a once a year thing, and we bring this up, like I said, at meeting after meeting with our parent community groups.
Got it. Thank you, Chris.
You bet.
All right. Any more questions, Frank or Katrin?
No, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
All right, then all in favor to adopt the 2022-23 LCAP? Frank,
Yes.
Katrin? Sorry, was that a yes for Katrin? I didn't.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. All right, and that's a yes for me. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, the approval of the upcoming academic year's budget. I'd like to make a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
Sure. So I'd like to give an update from when we spoke last about the budget as the board. And I presented a PowerPoint. I've updated that PowerPoint, and I'm going to focus on the changes since we last met that are reflective, I hope, of what the requests and desire of the board was. But I gave goals for the budget that continue, that we are looking to grow enrollment, particularly at TK and 6th grade level. We're maintaining an investment in our MYP exploratory and language, maintaining classified support, continuing specials program in PYP, investing in professional development, and supporting providing intervention support. Nothing really has changed with regard to the governor's May revision. We included the 6.5 in the budget that we have in terms of cost of living adjustment, or COLA. But the additional ongoing funding from LCFF, which has a potential to be more, is not yet in the budget, and the one-time mandate cost funding is not yet in the budget. This is because up in Sacramento, while they approved a budget in the middle of June, by law, they have to, that budget was basically a placeholder. So they are still talking through all the pieces. However, every indication is that they're talking about actually the potential of even more funding. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. We didn't put that into our budget. We put as much as we were allowed to by School Services of California, and in turn, XED follows those guidelines in the macros that they create in the budget spreadsheet scenario. So the governor's May revision is still at bay, and we're still waiting for Sacramento to finalize. We'll talk about where next steps are on that in a bit. We did make a change based on the feedback from the board, which was take a little harder look at enrollment. We did drop our ADA from last time we spoke, it was at 430 in the budget, and we dropped it to 426. And where we had dropped it, we adjusted it with 6th grade and dropped that projection for that year and the 2 out years that are looked at. Just to let the board know where we stand right now, we are currently 5% what we'd say over enrolled. And that is the buffer to deal with summer loss, which happens every year. But that number that we're at with 5%, this is after at the end of the year with all the reconnaissance we have and every parent we've talked to who says they're moving or is not, going to a different school or whatever it might be. We are still currently over enrolled by 5%. Now that's not a number we can count on. We always lose people over the summer, but we definitely feel that 5% is a safe buffer that we're in right now. So that's where we stand currently at enrollment at this point at the end of June. Included in this budget were extra programs, and we talked about those, the part-time on-campus intervention teacher and field trips and the specials programs, art, Spanish, and PE, and instructional aids and BIIs. Those are all in this, as well as our language program and the MYP exploratory program. All that was in there. We added something new based on the feedback from the board that we were able to work into this budget as well. And I'm very excited about this one, that we budgeted about $21,000 that is in the budget for a after school sports program, and we were able to do it with a specialized funding, so it helped us out. But we're getting this program with an athletic director who is going to be our own Coach Washington, who has agreed to be the AD. And we are going to get involved in a league, and our plan is to run up to 4 sports, 1 in the fall, 1 in the winter, and potentially 2 in the spring, spring being soccer. I know that'll make Frank happy. We are exploring getting that going as quickly as possible, and just knowing Coach and the way he is with our kids, that he's able to generate that excitement for this program. So this is something new that we did not have in the budget before. So wanted to highlight that. Previously included in the budget were some things for our staff, which included professional development. We increased benefits up to $750 per month. We had STRS and PERS increases and a step and column increase. We increased the daily rate for substitutes. Those were all really good things, but then the board went through and did something even better at a special meeting, did a 5% increase in the salary scale. And so that is included in this budget. Also at the direction of the board wanted us to make sure in our administrative rearrangement that we included some pieces that will support our program kind of at the lower levels. And so we expanded some hours for our independent study technician, as well as brought on a part-time position for office assistant special projects. We actually had someone who could only work part-time, and it worked really well. We now have 2 people that help us support in case people are absent, which certainly was an issue this past year. So the fact that those are included in the budget is really a positive thing. Included in the budget for facilities are set for our agreement with, including the alternate agreement for Prop 39 and including the over allocation penalties, which we've if you recall from the May meeting, we included those into our 2021-22 funding, so they did not negatively affect our current budget. So that's a good thing. Also included in this budget is the reshaping of the administrative team and the way things are set up. We decreased certain pieces of it. So my executive director contract is at a 0.6 this year. And so that's a reduction of time, but certainly a reduction of cost. And we shifted from having a TK through 8th grade principal and an MYP principal to having a TK through 8 principal and an assistant principal. And then we added a teacher on special assignment who is doing administrative support as well as IB coordination, so not in the classroom. You put all that together and in the reduction of costs and then the addition of that position, and it's basically a wash. So that's how that worked out in the budget. So what is not in our budget? We expect things to get better. We don't know how much better, and we will find that out when Sacramento actually passes the real budget instead of the placeholder budget. But we're stuck in this limbo until then. And just as Ryan said about the LCAP, that it's a living document, then absolutely the budget is also a living document. And we may need to revisit, depending on what the legislature does, and look at, are there some areas where we want to shift or change things around once we know that for sure. So this is a strange position to be in at this point in June, to not really know the full extent of what the budget's going to do. So we're going to have to look at this again. But considering the things that the board did ask for, one was to improve the attractiveness of our school program to build enrollment. So we did add that MYP sports program. We've augmented our arts, robotics, language programs, and with the idea of looking to improve the attractiveness of our school program. We also built towards being an employer of choice. So the increase of health benefits and the 5% salary compensation levels, as well as the step and column increases that we do. And then also the professional development pieces really support our staff. And finally, building the bandwidth of the administrative team, who had quite a heck of a year this year, keeping up with all the changing merry-go-round of things with COVID. And so we think we have a better support system with more people and more time to give that support. So with that in mind, the last slide here is next steps. So we approved the LCAP. The next step is approve this budget, and then we still will need to monitor legislation on the budget in June and July. I mean, June's almost over, but July we'll be watching that. It may not even finish till August, but we'll have to see. I would not expect us to, well, we would include that into our budget models based on school services formulas, and that's coming our way. And we would want to consider the budget. Do we need a budget revision or to make some changes? I would guess in September. We won't have information until our board meeting at that point, and we could look and to see if we need any changes. So the budget itself, let me go ahead and bring us to that. This takes just a moment. So the budget itself that we're looking at is looking, as I said, it's based on 426 in this year. And what we're approving, I want to mention, is this year, the 2022-23 is what we're approving here. We did give the 2 out years to take a look at, but please keep in mind those out years do not include any of the money we think and expect to be coming in that we'll see in August. So we'll have another clearer picture of where these out years are, but at least they are to the positive at this point. So let me we are with the assumption of, as I said, 426 enrollment, and that an assumption of 96% ADA level, and that would bring us to the 408.96 on ADA. We have assumptions about our free and reduced levels, our English learners, and our unduplicated youth count, which affect especially that supplemental money. But most importantly, let's take a look at net income. So we are showing right now in the budget year, we're looking at a $26,000 to the positive. That is before we are moving on to before we receive anything that might come in we think by August. So we're keeping a really close eye on that. It's about a wash for the following year. We do lose some federal money that comes in on that year, and we lose some state money, but we expect that to be made up by more state money coming in. So I would expect that to the net income in the year 2 to grow, and we have huge net income showing at this time in year 3. But again, this is based on enrollment that rolls over from what we have to the following year and taking those and rolling forward. So it does include enrollment growth, and that's the major part of the budget. Ryan, did you have anything you wanted to add specifically with regard to the budget?
No, nothing to add. Happy to answer questions though.
Great. Yasir?
Yes. Frank?
Yeah, just a comment, the finance, as the chair of the finance committee, I will say these were, very intense meetings, and I think the school leadership did a good job. I know with some grilling there, lots of questions been asked by the finance committee, and was overall a collaborative meeting. I think the budget in total is very conservative, yeah, I think it's looking good. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Catherine?
No questions. Just wanted to say thank you, everybody. This really looks like it's been hard work. I want to commend everybody for putting this together. And also, Frank, I appreciate your perspective and hearing that you think this is a conservative budget.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, Chris, I think we definitely have figured out our pace as far as preparing for the budget and having that prior meeting devoted specifically to it, which I think clarified a lot of our initial concerns and questions about it. So I think this has been very, very efficient. So thank you. There's nothing further. Let's move to the vote. All in favor to approve the budget for the upcoming academic year, Frank?
That would be an aye for me.
Catherine?
Yes.
That is a yes for me as well. Moving on to the local indicators report for submission for fall. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. This is really a part of the LCAP as well, but it's separated out because it gets submitted, not at this time, but as it says in the fall. It's a report that is saying how are we doing and how are we kind of looking at ourselves. So I think this ties back to Catherine, your question about the circle of where does this go? We use lots of self-reflection tools that we are analyzing. So some of these are self-analyzed, things that where we think we are, but like it's something like, where are we at with Common Core state standards? Well, we've been working on that for a decade practically. So yeah, we're in a good shape on that. We're still got a little work to do while we have full implementation of ELD and alignment to ELA. We recognize that's something we can show some improvement on. So you can see different areas where we had marked. But that's what this is, and it's not necessary to. We don't do anything with it until the fall, where we'll submit it to the state, and it becomes a part of the state's dashboard. So it is a piece of that puzzle as well, with the California dashboard, and this is a piece that then will be publicly facing through the state website. And that's all for this one.
All right, thank you, Chris. We are then going to move on to the approval of the 2022-2023 Education Protection Account Spending Plan. I'd like to make
Are there
a
any,
motion.
I'm sorry, were there any questions for me?
Oh, for the local indicators report. Sorry, Frank or Catherine, any questions?
No.
All right. Making a motion for the EPA spending plan. I'd like to make a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
From Frank? Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, and I'm going to let Ryan drive this one because it's something that happens every year, and he puts this together for us, the EPA spending plan. It's basically just a separate tracking of something that the CDE makes us track separately. So Ryan, you want to explain this one?
Yes, so as a component of our local control funding formula, we have money that is set aside in that total calculation and called the Education Protection Account. And as recipients of this component of our local control funding formula, we must certify that we are using it inside the classroom. And the way that this school and many schools have typically opted to utilize these funds is to support teacher salaries and benefits. And we've done that each year since this money came about. And the request is to continue utilizing our Education Protection Account funds, which next year total $977,808 to support teacher salaries and benefits.
Okay. Any
anything
questions
else?
on that?
Frank,
No questions.
Catherine?
No questions.
All right. If there's nothing further on that, all in favor to approve the EPA spending plan? Frank?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Says a yes for me. Moving on to approve the upcoming year's vendor contracts. I'd like to make a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
From Frank? Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, if the board will recall, back in May, we brought to them a document that we took a look at all of our vendors, and we spent some time thinking through what grade we would give them, and in an A through F scale. And we looked through basically which ones we were recommending for renewal, and we did have one that we recommended for non-renewal. But basically, these are the big vendor contracts, the largest ones, the ones that we have, and we like to do this on an annual basis. The full contracts were in your Dropbox, but we had one for CharterSafe, which is our insurance company. Cross-country education that we use in a variety of ways. Most for some special education services, we can use them for substitute services, although we did not last year. We used them mostly for adaptive PE, but we also are connecting with them as we are trying to be sure we have all of our hiring and long-term substitutes in place. Dell Techies, which is our IT support, and has been for many years. They do a fantastic job for us. XED, which is our back office financial services. And I'm going to just give a shout out to Ryan. What he's had to do in this last year has been beyond belief, and it didn't stop this weekend. I know that. But I want to thank him for the work that he's done. And XED is not just Ryan. It's not a single person. XED is the a bank of people that we use for payroll. It's a bank of people that we use for attendance accounting, and it's a bank of people that we use for making sure we have STRS and PERS paid properly. So it's an overall piece. Ryan is the linchpin of that, and I want to thank him for that. That's XED. Measure Education. This is the group that does our CalPads as well as PowerSchool reporting. CalPads is the statewide system that tracks every student and staff member, and it is as involved and convoluted as it sounds. And so the people who do our PowerSchool also very importantly help us do our fall 1, our fall 2, and our end of year CalPads reporting, which is a very, very involved process. PS Arts, which we added 3rd grade to the program this year. We were very happy with the K2 program last year, and we're extending that out, which is going to give us a little more flexibility at the middle school level. We are continuing with Scoot Education, which we were very happy with at the end of the year, who helped us out of a bind of getting people when COVID was really hitting us in May. We would have really run into problems if it were not for them. So we've been happy with that, and we're continuing that on with that. And then the really big one is Total Educational Solutions, who, if the board recalls, a few years back, we'd had a little lukewarm response. Talk about upping your game. Total Education Solutions has been invaluable in getting our special education program coordinated, as well as up to date. We're in the high 90% of tracking minutes that students are expected to receive, and the threshold for concern or at the LA Unified level is 70%. So we are tracking above 90% and sometimes beyond. And that's just a really good thing. We've been very happy with their service, as well as service for resource specialist program. The RSP teacher has been with us this year and will continue on next year through Total Education Solutions. So with that, I would recommend the approval of the contracts from the board.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions, Frank?
Just 2 comments. Contracts 1 to 8. It just indicates the coordination of all these aspects. All these aspects of learning, running a business. All genuine to charter schools. The real. Every contract has to perform. Number one, I think it did, like after we, and they are doing it, but also, there are 2 things which you need to acknowledge. One, the coordination, the administrative leadership team has to do, and to coordinate and make sure that they all work in lockstep and in sync. So that's a great, applause here. And then I want to give a shout out also to Ryan and the XED team, because it hasn't been easy for them, and they have come through for us with multiple requests, multiple variations, and on the finance committee it wasn't always easy for Ryan to administer all our questions and to come back to us. So thank you for that, and great job.
Thank you, Frank. Catherine?
Thanks. No questions at this point. I recall our discussion around contracts in May, and this looks good to me.
All right, then all in favor to approve, Frank,
Aye.
Katrin?
Aye.
That is a aye for me as well. Moving on to the next item. Approval of the strategic plan. I'd like to make a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, Chris, go for it.
Well, at long last, this is the strategic plan unchanged since the last time you saw it. We had brought it up for we've done several iterations and added and made changes. But this has been over a year in development, and it is ready for final approval. We are ready to shift our language of who we are and what we do and how we do it, and most importantly, creating the plan under the areas of academic achievement, facilities, marketing, and finally finances. And so these the next step will be making this public in the new year. So it'd be something that's starting in August, September. We'll be pushing out in a public way with our families and with our staff as well. So I recommend to the board that at long last, we do an approval of the strategic plan that covers the years 2020, I'm sorry, 2022 to 2027. Yes, sir.
Sorry, Frank, any questions?
No, just a comment, again, just a very collaborative environment with all the stakeholders in the school, parents, teachers, and the school community. Very, very productive meetings over a longer period of time. Really non-controversial, when compared to the last development of the prior strategic plan. The foundational work was done. I think this gives the good direction, and I highly recommend, because I seconded, to approve the strategic plan.
Thank you, Frank. Katrin?
No questions. Happy that we're at this point to approve the plan today. And yeah, again, congratulations to everybody who's been involved in its creation.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, Chris, that I think this is super succinct and much more concise than our previous one, which I think we've all felt that was a great starting off point. I think this is very meat and potatoes and also very achievable for the organization. So thank you for heading it and everyone who participated in the collaboration. So then let's call the vote. All in favor, Frank?
Aye.
Katrin?
Aye.
And that is a yes for me. Moving on to item H, update on 2021-2022 LAUSD oversight report. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, well, I know that this year or this meeting has just so much paper that's involved with it, but let's take a look at something really exciting. This is a 46 page document,
All right,
but let's boil it down to this. We do have an oversight every year, and from LAUSD, and they come and take a look, and this has a huge effect on our charter renewal. And we are very happy to see in governance a 4, which is the top rating, in organizational management a 4, and lo and behold, in fiscal operations a 4. That's fantastic. We felt we should have had a 4 last year. We were very upset that we didn't, and so Ryan and your team can feel pretty darn good that we got the 4 in fiscal operations. you'll notice it says no rating under student achievement and educational performance. And unfortunately, that's what LA Unified has done with all schools. They would not give they didn't give a rating 1, 2, 3, or 4. Last year, we were a 4 in that area. But the reason why they're not giving a rating is because the California dashboard was put on hold because of COVID. And as a result, they don't have new information that they can look at the state level. We did provide iReady information at of course their request, but that was not looked at as part of a rating here. So there's no rating. That should not be marked in any way against us. It's just exactly what it says, no rating. So we are very happy with having 4s in the areas in which they gave ratings. And this document, as I said, is 46 pages. It was there for your reading pleasure. And we're just really happy that you know the top box was checked on most everything in terms of the rubric, that we were able to do that, and they look at everything when they come and do the oversight. So I've got to say thank you to the administrative team. Casey and Biggie are here. Just the work that goes on behind the scenes for this. It seems so long ago because we did this in February, and we were working on it November and December and January to get it ready. But it's nice to see it in a positive light. So I'll leave it at that. Any questions? This is just informational, so there's no vote needed.
Thank you, Chris. Frank?
Goethe continues to be a well-run school from an administrative point of view. And I'm really looking forward, with the new budget we have approved and with the attractiveness of the program we're trying to do to really, reach the next level and make this and continue to make this a great school, a greater school, so to speak. Yeah.
Catherine?
Very positive news in this meeting today, I should say, summing it up so far, and wonderful to hear about these positive ratings. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Chris, another information only item, update on the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Plan. Go ahead.
Yes. The next 2 items have PowerPoints that are extremely lengthy. We are not going to go through the entire PowerPoints, but I do want to point out a few things that are in these. So we are tapping into funding that is at the state of California level, but require specific plans in order to receive and maintain and hold those funds and make use of them. So the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Plan is the overall drive of the governor to expand the programs available to students below kindergarten. And initially, they had kind of pushed to building a preschool program, and they shifted tunes in this last year, and they've expanded particularly the transitional kindergarten program, which, as you guys are aware, allows now until February, students coming into TK, they can be turning 5 in February. So we have younger students coming to TK. The following year, it's going to be even younger. And the following year after that, it'll be younger still, till eventually all 4-year-olds will be able to participate in the TK program, which means we need to readjust or rethink our TK program, because it had been developed as basically for 5-year-olds or those just about to turn 5. And that's a big difference between someone who is a 4-year-old. And we're looking to how do we create a program that is thoughtful and really does service to those students. We are not a part of the California State preschool program, and we really don't qualify to be a part of that program. What we are able to do is expand our TK program that we already have. And so that's our focus as we're looking through this. And I'm going to call a little bit on Casey, give you a heads up that we've been talking about this, and there's some pieces that we're trying to put together in terms of especially supporting staff and getting them ready to be fully credentialed and be fully trained for teaching transitional kindergarten. So this universal pre-K plan, the 5 areas of focus are listed there. Our plan itself, we are going to be, we need to present to the CDE. And so what you're seeing here is a PowerPoint that basically breaks down all the questions that the state is going to be asking about, like where are we, who are we going to be serving? So for instance, here, right now or just in the past year, 21-22, we had 3 students who were TKs. That's a very small number. We usually have had a larger number, but we weren't able to fit, if you recall, the kids in. So we're only able to add 3. In the coming year, 22-23, we're planning for 24, and we have those students enrolled. And we have students on the waiting list enrolled, or not enrolled, but we do have students on the waiting list. In the following year after that, we again are planning to have a single class of TK and enrolled, even though we're going to have more students eligible by that time. And then the following year, 24-25, we're expecting to expand yet again for that TK program. And that would be kind of where we think our natural size would be. So we don't know yet whether we would differentiate between those 2 classes, or would they be taught exactly the same way. This is going to be another living document, but it's something that we are trying to be thoughtful as we move forward on this. And one of the pieces that we've had to discuss is what does our how do we support teachers in order to build their professional development and to make sure that they're certified. So I'm going to ask Casey if you could just give us a little snippet about what we're working on in the long run for building our program in the TK level.
Chris, I'm assuming you want like staffing updates.
Yeah, kind of what we're looking for with to build, bring teachers into certification and different pathways that we can build that with our teachers.
Okay, so there are a couple different ways that we can support our teachers in order to be fully credentialed and also cleared to teach TK. There's an additional certification that's required when you're working with preschool age students. Previously, that hadn't been a mandatory requirement, but it's going into effect starting August of 2023. So the 2 kind of main pathways for our staff that we're currently working with would be to help people who already have that preschool age certification and to help them to get their multiple subject teaching credential. So we do have 1 staff member who's got that preschool age authorization, and I'm working with them to have their credential be in place for that August of 2023 school year. The other route, though, is to take someone who already has the multiple subject teaching credential and then get that preschool age authorization. And there are several different ways that you can go about to get that authorization. There are a certain number of courses that you can take and pass to receive authorization. You can apply for a permit, a child development permit through the CTC. You also, if you have been working with preschool age students in a TK environment, for example, for a specified amount of time, then the local educational agency, so us as the school, can authorize that you have enough experience through your previous work experience to be authorized to teach preschool. Or those preschool age students. So those are kind of the main pathways that we have been talking with and supporting our staff who are interested in teaching TK in upcoming years.
Thank you, Casey. So, and one of the other areas that we're doing or looking at is intern programs as well. We made use of a wonderful intern program this past year, and we are the potential is there to continue, particularly with Pepperdine and LMU are our two partners that we're trying to work through. So all of the questions, as I said, that the state is going to be asking us to share, I had put existing in the PowerPoint, and I also gave it to the board. It was in your Dropbox in a written format where you can kind of see all the pieces. But let's just open it up, I think, to questions about the TK program and the UPK, which is that's how the state is really looking from PK to third grade, looking at that entire span of students and trying to make that a major area of focus. That has been a real priority at the state level. So yes, here, any questions for me or for Casey about this?
No, I think this is really good. Frank?
Yeah, it's the TK, we have certain entry points in the school and we have certain departure points in the school. This is apologize for the dogs barking in the background. This is a major entry point for us at the school. So I'm glad to see that we have a plan in place and to really make this a standout aspect of the school, because it attracts enrollment, and it's and also it's also good for the kids, in this very structured environment of learning. So that's just my comment.
Katrin?
Are we, number one, I'm very excited about this program in general. These are programs like this are game changers for working parents like myself. And I was wondering if we are planning to specifically highlight this new program at Goethe in our marketing or outreach to prospective parents.
I can respond to that one with a yes, and it's also because there's been so much else going on in education and in the news and COVID and all the other pieces, that this whole change in the way transitional kindergarten is being set up in California, I mean, it's monumental, and yet you don't see many articles about it. It's really under the radar. And so I think it can be a marketing tool because not everybody is aware that this is going on statewide. And so we have to be careful that it's not that we're doing something drastically different. I just hope we're going to be doing it thoughtfully and really making it an important piece of who we are as a school, and it can really help our students as they transition into kindergarten and transition into first grade and into primary grades.
Can I perhaps add one more thought? And I'm sorry, this thought is not very well fleshed out, but I was thinking that this is going to be, of course, free for parents who would otherwise pay a whole lot for daycares. And I would imagine that perhaps this is especially interesting for parents who have a certain socioeconomic background and for who it would be a major draw getting this free option of the universal pre-K program. And with that, there is, I think, a chance that this would affect our student demographics in a way that would add more diversity, student diversity to the school through this entry point of the universal TK pre-K program. And have we thought about that? I think it's wonderful. And of course, we always want to embrace student diversity and increasing that to make our school richer than it already is. But have we thought about that?
Yeah, in fact, the very next presentation addresses the issue of aftercare as well. So I'm going to actually hold off until the next presentation. I think I think it'll tie in with this. But yes, definitely, the fact that this could help our demographic and to help with diversity, that can only, that's only a positive. We've been looking and wanting ways to do that, and I do agree that this is likely to be very much a positive for that.
Yep. Okay, I'll stay tuned.
All right, thank you, Chris. Moving on to the ELOP, Extended Learning Opportunities Program Plan. Go for it.
Okay, let me switch PowerPoints. So the ELOP, it's the Expanded Learning Opportunities. It is a grant that comes in from the state of California, and initially it was a $50,000, and then it got a second apportionment that became $100,000, and now it's potentially that's one of the things we're watching in the budget, and what's happening in Sacramento. It's expected to be much more and possibly continuing as ongoing funding. So initially we were like, oh, this is a really tough one to implement, and now we're like, there's no way we cannot. This is providing a service to our kids, and it's a huge amount of money. So we are looking at how do we make this work. So the reason what's difficult about this program is that it requires a few things. That we provide no less than 9 hours of combined instructional time. And initially we were told and under the impression that we had to hire people on ourselves or have our own people extend to a 9-hour day. And we did not have the bandwidth to do that. Meaning from, 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. But we have found out that we can partner with several groups, and one of those groups could definitely be Prolific Kids, who is our third-party provider on campus. So we've already started those discussions, but only at a preliminary phase with Prolific Kids, and seeing how we can use these funds to create a much better program that would include some pieces that we provide as a school, such as homework help and kind of the tutoring educational side of it. And then also the activity and social emotional side that could be provided through Prolific Kids or other providers as well. And so that's a really, it's a key piece that we'd have to coordinate with them, but it would allow us to meet that 9-hour requirement.
The other thing that is a part of this is the providing in 30 non-school days. So that means in summer and or interterm. This is a much tougher one because we've got to figure out, can we, we have to give our staff some downtime. And so we've got to figure out what can we do, how much time we can do. Right now, we currently run like a summer school, but we only do it in June. So this would involve, again, I think some third-party partnership so that we would be able to provide 9 hours of service as part of our summer school, or also as maybe something as a standalone over spring break, or as a standalone over winter break, possibly in July. So we do not have all the answers to this. We're not giving you a plan to approve today. We want to let you know that this is something we're working on. And really, I'm going to skip down to, let's go beyond the requirements. Again, you see this a lot, a living document. Everything that we're doing is a living document because they seem to change daily. But we will be getting a formalized plan to the board. Oh, why is, let me see. Okay, this is the one I was looking for. So here is the tentative plan that we have that we're trying to flesh out. One is we're partnering with Prolific Kids and other partners for that expanded 9-hour day. Potentially providing financial support for students who would fall under the unduplicated count. Remember, that is English language learners, that is socioeconomically disadvantaged students, as well as foster youth. All of those together, unduplicated, you can't count them twice, become the unduplicated count. And we could provide support for up to full cost using these funds to pay for that after school time. So Katrin, what you were saying, I think is that was the point I was trying to reach here. It could be a game changer when we can provide through this funding mechanism a way to support families who would not otherwise be able to participate in our extended day program. And it would make that program larger, and it would make that program more robust. So that I really think that's a big change. We would be offering homework help, tutoring type of things with GICS staff, and figuring out how we could do that. We divide that work up amongst it would be many teachers, I believe, doing small pieces on different days. The development of our after school sports program. This is where we're expecting to fund that, because after school sports is exactly what they're talking about with providing a full and robust day. So that would be for our middle school. And I think that that's really going to hit our middle school students kind of where they live. I think there's going to be great interest in that program. So we've put that into the budget for this year, and we're going to figure out all the other pieces around it. And then the offering of a summer program or other interterm programs. So it could be something over spring break. It might be something over the third week of winter break, or there's lots of different options, maybe even Thanksgiving. But we're going to try to figure that out before those we get too far along. So that's the main thrust of what we're looking at. And so we're going to work on finalizing the ELOP budget and a plan and bring that back to the board. We develop a fee for family income, based on family income of an ability to pay a fee scale to help open up the after school program. We would have the board approve, and we need to put that onto our website. And of course, outreach to families, get an application out and make sure people know and are aware of a support. So we expect to be moving forward with a plan as soon as we possibly can, but sometime in the fall you'll be receiving that. So wanted to give you guys a heads up. You see her?
Chris, thank you, Chris. Frank?
So I'm absolutely happy to see both programs like the TK and the ELO program, come to fruition. As a founder of the school, there was always a social component to my when founding the school. As a child of public education, I couldn't be happier to see giving kids who need it really the opportunity to grow, to grow academically, to grow social, emotionally. It's fantastic. I'm absolutely stoked about this. And then the second comment is, regarding the financing, what a great opportunity to engage the student, to engage our parent community, to make this as affordable as we possibly can through additional fundraising. To give as many kids as possible access to this ELO program.
Katrin?
No questions. I'm just genuinely very happy to see this. This is a very good thing. And yeah, it makes me proud of the school, to be honest.
Absolutely, Chris. This is great news. Let's we look forward to the development. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a long road ahead of us. Just so you know, this is not going to be easy. This is really a heavy pull, but I think this is like I said, potentially a game changer, and we've got to figure out how to make that how to make it work.
All right, moving on to follow-up meetings. Chris, I believe this is the last one of the academic year, and we're taking a break for July. Is that correct?
Yes, with the caveat, there's always a chance that we'd have to do some sort of special meeting in late July. I do not anticipate it. I don't see anything that says we're going to be doing that, but just be aware. If there were something that we'd have to do, that would be the time frame, probably the last week of July, if we had to do some sort of special meeting. But I don't see that on the horizon. Our next meeting is on August 8th, which is the week before school starts. So we'll have some things that'll need to get approved there. We've got our student handbook, our family handbook, and we'll have an employee handbook, and some other pieces that need to get approved at that meeting. And then it's we just met with the GPA executive team today, and our first 6 weeks of school are just jam packed with events, activities from different things that are happening. Just so much is going on at the beginning of the school year, so it's going to be a whirlwind. We're all going to take a couple weeks off right now and catch our breath and try to recharge, and then we'll come back at it come August.
Well, thank you, Chris, and I'd like to thank the board members for their service for the year. I am looking forward to continuing our work next year with everyone. And Chris, a special thanks to you and your team for your hard work. And I know it's been a tough slog these last couple of years, but I think we're all excited for everyone to get back to work and to serving the kids. So thank you and Biggie and Casey. We look forward to another successful year next year. All right. There's nothing further. Frank or Katrin, any questions or comments about upcoming meetings?
No, just echoing what you've said. I think you've done a tremendous job. The admin team, the teachers, the parent community. This was rough the last 2 years. Well done. Thank you.
Completely agree and want to echo what both you, Frank, and Yasir said. Thank you, everybody.
All right, then at this point, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, all in favor, Frank,
Aye.
Katrin?
Yes.
That is a yes for me, and thank you guys, and have a great summer. Hope you get some relaxing in, and all the best. We'll see you next year.
See you next year. Take care, everybody. Bye.